Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy TrevCL here, and today I am excited to bring you guys week 2 of season 6 of the NPL. Now, last week we suffered an unfortunate loss against Danza and his LA Nidokins, but this week we are going to try to come back against that. And last week our prep was pretty alright. You know, I really liked the prep. However, the play really let down the team for sure. But this week we're playing Dallas Boy 1992 and his San Antonio Swamperts. So we're going to try to rebound. We're going to try to keep the team building just as good, but try to improve our play by quite a bit. Because if we play like that again, that would not look pretty good, especially when we're in a matchup that does not favor us. Unlike the last matchup, which I felt favored us quite a bit, but in this matchup, I definitely have to give the matchup favor to my opponent, as his team of Magirna, Megazard X, Lando T, Rotom W, Decidueye, Cobalion, Meloetta, Breloom, Xatu, Blastoise, and Miltank, and Weezing. Definitely a team, super scary team. It's a little bit top heavy, as the last few picks are, you know, not quite nearly as dangerous as, for example, Magirna, Zardex, Lando T, but it still is overall a very scary team for sure, and we will have to look out for those threats. As you can see, my team is still the same as last week. Probably won't be changing for at least a few weeks, and even then it might not change at all. Depends on if I find any flaws in my team that need to be patched up through trade or free agency. But let us just move right on to the team. So the team we will be bringing is Zygarde, Reuniclus, Mimikyu, Celesteela, Diancie, Mega Edition, and Mesprit. Now, I went through quite a few mocks and quite a few rough drafts of this team. Originally, I had Gengar on here because I thought that like a mixed Gengar with knockoff would be really good for Meloetta, but then almost nobody was bringing Meloetta, so I was like, Gengar is kind of outclassed by Mimikyu in certain matchups, so I thought Mimikyu overall because of the priority and the fact that I could be a Charizard, and I'll get into how I can be a Charizard X in a minute. But I felt that the kind of versatility of Mimikyu, because Mimikyu can do a lot more things than Gengar. Gengar's kind of just, in League format at least, you know, sometimes it can be like a stall breaker, but in most cases I feel like Specs, Scarf, if you want a especially offensive Pokemon that can punch holes through teams, that's what Gengar's for. But I feel like that's not what I really need in this matchup, as I kind of already have Mega Diancie and Reuniclus to punch holes in, to even a lesser extent, Mesprit. So that is why I'm not bringing Gengar, because while I did do stuff in the mocks, I just felt that Mimikyu was a little bit better for the matchup. So our first set is one of our 2 Zard checks, and that is our Habanberry Zygarde, Dragon Dance with 3 attacks, Extreme Speed, 1000 Arrows, Crunch. Hits basically his entire team for at least neutral damage, outside of his Breloom, which actually sort of walls us, so if he brings like a Poison Heal subset, that could put us in a little bit of trouble, and I could honestly see that being somewhat viable, as you know, toxic Dragon Dance sub Zygarde could be pretty nasty against his team. So if he's really scared of a mono attacking Zygarde set like that, then I could certainly see him bringing that Breloom set. The speed allows us to outspeed his base 91 and Landorus with a positive nature, as well as like his Zard if he's adamant or slower. And then we have the rest in defense, because, you know, be able to take Flare Blitz plus Dragon Claw a little bit better. So we, you know, if we're like in with Mimikyu or Celesteela, there's like no way he's not going for one of Flare Blitz, there's no way he's not going for either Flare Blitz or possibly EQ predicting Diancie. There's no way he's going to go for Dragon Claw, because I have 2 fairies, and the 2 Mons, for example, Mimikyu and Celesteela, that I would be in with, there's no way he would click Dragon Claw against those, for fear that I could do something nasty to him in return. So that is the Zygarde set. Now the next set we have is quite an innovative Reuniclus set. Now, I was really struggling with what to do with his this Reuniclus. At first, I was going to run like a more Spadef double dance Reuniclus, and when I mean double dance, I really mean like double setup in Acid Armor, Calm Mind, Psy Shock, and then Recover. But I was really scared of a possible Heart Swap Magearna. Now, I know that Setup Magearna and the AV Magearna are probably the best two sets against me, but one reason why I didn't want to run that set as well is because usually I had to reveal that early game. I really wanted to save that kind of Reuniclus for a late game, because again, I wanted to see the Meloetta set, or not the Meloetta, the Magearna set first before, you know, I started to set it up, because I feared the hard swap possibility. However, I just didn't really want to have it to be my early game check, because really a lot of the problems in my mock battles I was seeing is that I was just getting dunked on by Rotom Wash, and so Reuniclus was really my only switch into Rotom Wash, so I really had to, you know, use it conservatively in those battles, because instead of being my setup mon for late game, it was turning into my Spadef Rotom Wash check, and that's not what I really wanted it to be. So I turned it into kind of a pseudo Rotom Wash check. I still had to watch out for example, something like a Trick Scarf, because Trick Scarf is actually the best set against my team, like Trick Scarf with HP Ice, Hydro Pump, and Volt Switch. That kind of does me in. Hits my entire team really, really hard. Electric types in general just hit my team. I really probably should pick up a grass type somewhere, either in free agency or in a trade. Definitely. That'll probably be happening in a couple weeks if I can work something out. But I also wanted my Reuniclus to be a threat, going back to why I'm a Assault Vest Reuniclus. So the combination of those things, I was originally Magic Guard Reuniclus, but since I needed a better Rotom Wash check and just a better special check in general, I put Regenerator on it, because really I don't think he had toxic. He had Wheezing for Toxic Spikes, but there was no way he was going to bring Wheezing. Plus Mega Dynasty could pretty much switch on Weezing pretty freely. Like Sludge Bomb probably doesn't even 2-hit KO me. And honestly, if I was a bulky Mega Dynasty, spoilers, I'm not a bulky Mega Dynasty, but if I was, I could possibly even take 3 Sludge Bombs bar a Poison, so he wouldn't want Toxic Spike set up on his own side. So I just decided that Assault Vest offensive Reuniclus with Regenerator was the best set. Now, another conundrum I came across was what 4 moves was I gonna run. Obviously wanted to run Psychic Stab, so Psychic's right there. I really wanted utility of Knockoff again, so Knockoff's there for a second straight week. I wanted a way to hit the Magearna without having to rely on Focus Blast, and Nightshade actually not only hits the Magearna 100% of the time as opposed to 70% of the time, it actually hits it about 5 to 10% depending on rolls, stronger than the than Focus Blast does. So I really liked the Nightshade idea. Plus he only had Miltank and Meloetta as his 2 switching into Nightshade, and Meloetta really doesn't want to take a knockoff, and Miltank really doesn't want to take like a Psychic from Max Special Attack Reuniclus. So that was my thought process with Reuniclus. Now I'm going to try to go a little faster because we're already 9 minutes in. I'm through 2 mons. Next we have the Mimikyu. Now I explained earlier that Gengar was in some cases better in this matchup, but I felt overall that Mimikyu had a bigger role to play than Gengar, so that's why I brought Mimikyu instead, as it was both a Zard X check as well as a big offensive threat to his team, as after an SD, for example, if the Magearna was weakened and the Lando T was either dead or weakened, Mimikyu could put in quite a little bit of work. And, I could set up on a Zard that went for Flare Blitz, not only force that out, and if there's rocks up, that would be really detrimental to Dallas, and get basically a free SD. And then, depending on what he went into, it could be something not favorable, something he doesn't want to sack, like, for example, Decidueye. If he got forced into Decidueye, then he would have to either sack Decidueye or sack something else. So, Mimikyu, depending on what kind of RNG I get with the red card, could be the biggest threat to his team. But definitely it's a top 3 threat to his team out of the mons I am breeding. So next we have Celesteela. Celesteela is again autotomized 3 attacks, physical, no item. This time instead of the, what was it last time? I definitely ran acrobatics and earthquake last time, and I think I ran heavy slam last time. This time I was scared of the Rotomosh. Scarf Rotomosh really did scare me, and even a Fizz Def one could wall the Celesteela without Seed Bomb. So I decided to put Seed Bomb on there, because Seed Bomb actually hits Scarf Rotomosh like really hard. It's actually, I think, if it's like a no bulk one, I think it actually is able to do like 60%. So if I get a couple rock switch-ins and then maybe a little bit of chip damage, then I can definitely get a kill with Celesteela. And once Lando T is gone and Rotomosh is gone, if it's Fizz Def, then there's really nothing that can check Celesteela at +2 speed. Everything will pretty much get OHKO'd. Blastoise is one of those things that can avoid the OHKO. However, if I'm boosted already and he's a little bit weakened, then it definitely doesn't want to take an acrobatics. And the reason I am Jolly max speed, or not Jolly max speed, but Jolly with to hit 224 speed, is that allows me to actually outspeed Timid, Scarf Rotomosh. Again, really scared of the Rotomosh, so especially a Scarf variant, so wanted to make sure I could outspeed that and maybe catch him off guard and start a sweep or even a mini sweep. So next up we have our Mega Diancie. Now, this Mega Diancie has enough speed to outspeed everything on his team, I believe, except Scarfers. Let me go back and check. Yep. Everything on his team except for Scarfers, which the Rotomosh is obviously the #1 candidate for being a Scarfer. Although Lando T, even though I do have a Celesteela, so it probably won't be Scarf, could be a nuisance if it was Scarfed. I am Double Dance with Moonblast, Earth Power, Rock Polish, Calm Mind. Now, originally on some of my rough draft teams, pretty much all my rough draft teams, I would actually like Stealth Rocks 3 attacks with Psychic instead of Rock Polish, and then Rocks instead of Calm Mind. But I decided to make Mesprit my rocker, so I put Mesprit on the team. And then I didn't really see, like after a while I started seeing like he wouldn't bring Meloetta probably, so that's why I took Gengar off the team. Then I saw that he probably wouldn't bring the Weezing, so I took Psychic off. And so since I didn't really need Psychic, I decided, and I could put Rocks on Mesprit, which had a pretty decent matchup against Dallas as well, I decided that I could actually make this Mega Diancie a win condition, and arguably one of the biggest win conditions, as once his Magearna, if its AV is heavily weakened, this Mega Diancie can just possibly win at +1 special attack. And if he is Scarf Rotom, then if I get the +2 speed, then I can possibly also win. And if I get the combination of the two and his entire team is weakened down, then I definitely will win this game for sure, as Mega Diancie is a huge threat. He has one switch in to the combination of Moonblast plus Earth Power, and well, he has one Mon that can take a Moonblast for not very effective damage and is immune to Earth Power, and that's Weezing. But AV Magearna actually can take 2 Earth Powers depending on how much investment it has. Like if it's max HP AV, it takes 2 Earth Powers from Timid Diancie. So I do have to worry about that a little bit. But once that's weakened and I get up to +1 special attack, I can possibly just win, especially if he's not Scarf Rotom. I don't even need the Rock Polish to outspeed him. So yeah, Mega Diancie is looking like a ginormous threat to his team. And then last we have Mesprit. Like I said, Mesprit's there for the rocks. It's got Rocks, T-Wave, Psychic, and Healing Wish. T-Wave is to slow some things down like Zard X, and like a possible setup Magearna. And then Healing Wish is there for support, healing up a possibly Celesteela I tried to sweep with, failed, and like ultimately decided to keep for possible Healing Wish, or possibly even a Zygarde or Renucleus that's in desperate need of health even after regen, it's like really low. Or even Mega Diancie. Honestly, Healing Wish supports the whole team. The only one that probably doesn't need Healing Wish is Mimikyu, because really it's not going to take a hit from a lot of things on his team anyway. A lot of things can't hit it either on its weaker physical side to Oko, or hit it super effectively on the special side and hard enough to kill anyway like Magearna. So yeah, but overall that is the team, and I will see you guys with the battle. And here we are, guys, with the battle. Now, as you can see, he brought the biggest threats in the form of Charizard X and Magearna, as well as the defensive threat of Lando T, and then the semi-threat of Decidueye. However, he didn't bring arguably what could have been the most annoying Pokemon to deal with on his team, and that is the Rotom Wash. Now, I'm really surprised he didn't bring that at all. He chose to bring both Blastoise and Breloom over that Mon. Blastoise obviously for the spin, because he didn't. That probably means that he's not defogged Decidueye, unless he brought dual removal. And then the Breloom, I have no idea what the Breloom could be at team preview, as both either his Magearna or his Breloom could be scarfed. Even his Lando T, if once he gets rid of the Celesteela, I really don't have a great switch into Lando T. Even the Celesteela doesn't really want to switch into Lando T that much, because it is offensive, and that means it doesn't have that much bulk. You guys already saw what my EV spread on that was. But yeah, you guys already know my team, so let's get right into the battle. Now I'm going to lead off with Mesprit because I want to get up the rocks. Although I decided after I led off with it that I really actually didn't want to get up my rocks yet, because he has a Mega, or not a Mega Blastoise, he has a Blastoise, and I want to weaken that. He leads off with the Lando T, which I also want to weaken, so I just go for Psychic, as I actually do hit the Blastoise. So one of the two things I want to get weakened is getting weakened, as he reveals Dark Pulse, and that damage, based on my spread, tells me that he is a modest max special attack, and that was also like a really high roll. And I'm pretty sure that psychic damage, because I am max special attack, proves to me that he is actually some sort of Assault Vest set. He goes for the Scald there. Luckily he does not get the burn, because I am Regenerator, not Magic Guard, so I would be taking damage from that. So I'm actually just going to fire off the Future Sight right here. If I was Side Shock, I might have been able to kill. Not sure, depending on what his HP investment was on the Blastoise, or defense investment. So right here he's going to switch into his Magearna as I go back into my Mesprit, because I knew as long as he didn't get a max roll Dark Pulse, I could live a Dark Pulse from the Blastoise, and I could obviously live a Scald. Now right here I choose to do something kind of interesting. Now his Blastoise could not really come in that comfortably to spin, as it would die to pretty much everything on my team, as everything on my team actually outsped. The only thing that might have been able to live a Moonblast from Diancie, but I'm not sure, because it takes a lot from a Psychic from Mesprit, and that's not even modest Mesprit, and you know, Mega Diancie has like way more special attack than Mesprit does. So actually, yeah, Moonblast probably would have killed from Mesprit, but pretty much the only thing he could safely spin on was the Reuniclus, which even then I have this Mimikyu over here. So I should have really probably set up the rocks here, but I was really scared of not Assault Vest, Magearna. I was really scared of setup Magearna, but I should have realized that, hey, I can get up my rocks, and if he sets up here, he either has to A, go for the Floor Cannon to kill me, which means even though he gets the Soul Heart boost, he would still be at -1, and then Reuniclus could take him on pretty comfortably, or B, he's Assault Vest, and I should just get up my rocks anyway, and the para doesn't really matter, because whatever outspeeds him already outspeeds him, unless he's a speedy Magearna. In that case, he would still outspeed Celesteela without the para. But if he's not speedy, if he's like max HP AB, which if he's AB, he probably would be max HP AB with max special attack modest, that means Celesteela would guarantee outspeed. But I decided to go for the para. Looking back again, should have gotten up my rocks, as wouldn't have been able, the Blastoise wouldn't have really been able to spin comfortably against anything on my team. So that's mistake number one. Now that's not a huge mistake. It does hurt a little bit, but not the biggest deal in the world. Alright, there you can see he takes the Future Sight damage, and I'm going to switch back into the Reuniclus, and I think I go for another Future Sight. That's right. Maybe should have gone for knockoff, getting rid of the AB on, and also hit the incoming Decidueye, but not the biggest deal in the world, as I go into my Celesteela, and he's going to go for the sub, and that kind of scares me, as sub SD could be really terrifying, especially if he has the baton passing and baton passing to something like Lando T, Zard X. Even Breloom could be really, really scary depending on what set it is. If it's Scarfed, it kind of does do a number to me if it can predict the right move. As he switches into his Charizard on the baton pass and actually takes a ton from that future sight. Now, if I was actually like something like Life Orb, then that actually probably would have killed. But again, Assault Vest was just the best set, so he's actually going to Mega Evolve right here and go for the Flare Blitz as I switch into my Zygarde, predicting that. I thought he'd die from the recoil. He does not, unfortunately, because I don't have much HP investment. Actually, I don't have any HP investment, but he stays in on the extreme speed, luckily. That would have been a little bit of a problem if he kept that around, as it could outspeed and no-co my Celesteela and outspeed and do a lot of damage to my Reuniclus. So right here, I figure he does have the HPI, so I'm not going to go for a DD. I'm actually just going to go for 1,000 arrows and get some chip damage off on this Mon. Wish I would have been able to get a little bit more damage. Something like a Toxic would have been really nice. But right here, I'm just going to go for the Acrobatics, I believe, again. Now, judging off that Acrobatics damage, I'm going to pause here. I believe that Earthquake wouldn't have killed. Now, I didn't actually do the calc, but I assumed off that damage roll that it wouldn't have killed. But I really should have done the calc, because if that was like a low roll, like even a min roll acro, then Earthquake might have had a pretty decent chance to kill. But I assumed just off the damage, off that acro, that I wouldn't have killed with EQ. I still haven't done the calc. Probably should have done the calc before I started recording this battle. But, you know, hindsight 50-50, not 20-20. So I'm going to switch out into my Reuniclus because it is my best switch in still. And as he's going to fire off the Shadow Ball, predicting my Reuniclus. And that's a really nice play on his part, as I'm going to go for the Nightshade, do about 27%. And actually looking at that damage, maybe Focus Blast would have done about the same, but again, Focus Blast doesn't have the guaranteed damage. And right here, I maybe make another misplay. I go for Nightshade for the damage when really everything on my team at that point could have killed. And I could have set up another Nightshade, or not another Nightshade, another Future Sight, and gotten some massive damage off on something else. But right now I'm going to go into Mimikyu and claim my kill. I'm going to go for the Shadow Claw right there and take out that Magearna. So right now we were down 5-3, now we're down 4-3. He goes into his Lando T as I set up an SD knowing that the Zard's not here, so I don't really need my red card anymore. He's going to go for the U-turn, break my disguise, and I think he's, because of the red card, he probably actually would have gone into Breloom, because he actually turns out to be Scarfed, a little bit of a spoiler, but because of the red card, he's forced down the Blastoise, so it's really nice because that Blastoise may have been able to still take an acro depending on what HP defense investment it had. So right here he goes into Breloom, and this is why I can tell you that he probably would have gone into Breloom after the U-turn, as he's Scarfed, he clicks Spore. Now maybe I should have burned a Sleep Turn here. I really had nothing to lose by it, but I decided to switch straight out into my Celesteela, I believe, as he's obviously locked in on Spore, and I can just click Acro and do a lot of damage to something. And so he's forced into his Lando T, which unfortunately, if it was about one hit lower, I could have possibly set up an Autotomize and just won at this point, as I'm not able to. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Someone came in my room and I lost my train of thought. So as I was saying before, I believe, is that now I can actually pause it and, you know, kind of slow it down, tell you my thought process, is that I thought that if he was a little bit lower, like say like 15% lower, or even 12 or 13% lower, what I could have done is possibly set up an Autotomize here, and what I would have been able to do is, no matter what, I would have been able to get the Beast Boost, even if he went back in the Lando T. So either I would be able to 2-hit KO the Decidueye, or he would switch back in Lando T to get Intimidate, and I would be able to get another, or I would be able to get the attack boost off the Lando T sack, and then I would be able to just straight up win at that point, as the Decidui, depending on rolls, probably could live 2, but I could live a Spirit Shackle, and then at +2, and then if he didn't have Sucker Punch, I would just win with that, because Scarf Breloom can't outspeed me, and I would be able to kill with Acrobatics very cleanly. Obviously, it's a ×4 stab, super effective move. So yeah, so right here I'm going to go for another Acrobatics. So I actually outspeed everything on his team, bar the Scarf Breloom, because of my speed investment. So that still came in handy, even though he didn't bring the Rotom Wash, as he U-turns out of here. Now I'm going to make somewhat of a questionable play here coming up. So right here I'm going to go back to normal because I need it a little bit faster. This wasn't the questionable play. He's actually pretty bulky Decidui, as he's able to tank that Acro a little pretty well, actually, as he steps in SD. So sacking the Mimikyu was not the problem. What I should have done is I totally blanked on A, that he could have Baton Pass, which he actually showed earlier in the battle, and B, that my Celesteela actually had sped. Now if I would have thought about this, what I would have done was that I would have gone into my Celesteela here, clicked Acrobatics, and just won the game. However, I clicked Mega Diancie instead, failed to kill with Moonblast, totally forgetting about his Baton Pass, and he's able to go for Force Palm here. And if he's Jolly, I actually do have a chance in my favor to live this Force Palm. However, he is actually adamant, and he is able just to hit me right there and kill me. Now, even if he didn't kill me for some reason, if he was Jolly and got the roll in my favor, or if he was adamant and he got a really low roll, then he still had the 30% chance to para. I actually went for Acro there, because if I went for a Totemize and he parried me, I would have lost 3-0. And if he would have gotten the para as I Acroed, then I still would have lost, but at least I would have lost 2-0. And if he hadn't gotten the para, I actually would have won if I had lived. But that's how it goes sometimes. Really, really poor misplay. I actually didn't think about it at that time. I just thought like it got away. But after the game, I was like, well, shoot, I should have really gone into Celesteela. I totally forgot about the attack drop being gone, and I would have just been able to win with Celesteela, as it outsped everything but the Breloom. He would have possibly been able to put me to sleep with the Scarf Breloom, but at the same time, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, because he still couldn't have done much to me, because what would have happened is that I would have been able to go into Mega Diancie on his well, let's just say this: I kill the Decidui, or I force out the Decidui. He goes in the Lando T. He dies to the Acro, so we're at neutral. He goes into Breloom, goes for the Spore, puts me to sleep. Then basically probably at that point I would have gone into my Mega Diancie, as I could have killed the Decidui. Well, the Decidui turned out to be Mono Spirit Shackle and not Leaf Blade like I thought he could have been. Which I really probably should have gone for Rock Polish in that case, because that was because I knew his entire moveset up to that point, because he had killed me with Spirit Shackle, he'd shown the SD, he'd shown BP and sub. So I really should have gone for Rock Polish there with Diancie. That was another potential misplay, as even though not going into Celesteela straight away after I sacked Mimikyu was a misplay, I could have fixed that misplay by going for Rock Polish and still winning the game at that point. Unless he was like Mach Punch Breloom for some reason. And even in that case, I would have still won. So, a bit unfortunate we misplayed, but overall, we played a much, much better game than the one against Stanza. Even though the result ended up the same way, this was a much tougher matchup than the one we had against Stanza. So, I am glad that we were able to pull out 3 kills, because I was really worried, because some of my mocks I was losing like really badly. Again, it is a bit unfortunate, because we could have won 2-0 had I not misplayed with Celesteela, but that is just the way it goes sometimes, And yeah, But that was the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit up that like button if you did enjoy. Make sure you subscribe if you want to catch up with my other NPL game and want to follow me for the rest of the season. We are 0-2 -6. If the season was to end today, we would be in the third place relegation match with the third place finisher from the minors. So luckily we still have 10 weeks to make it up. Hopefully we can at least get out of third to last place. Playoffs aren't looking too likely even after only 2 weeks, but you never know what could happen. I could win 10 games in a row, or I could go 0-12. But we will see what will happen. So I want to thank you guys for watching. This has been your boy TrevCL, and I am signing out. Peace.